That one. Are we live now?
May or may not be live. Good response.
Was that it? Did we do it? Hey, we did it. We made it. Oh, my goodness. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. Epsilon says, you are live, good sir. Was I live when I was going? Actually.
Are these guns? Or are they just like signals? They're like,
they're like fireworks, I think. I consider them to be fireworks.
Okay. Got you.
Because remember, the first time I did that on the stream, it was New Year's. It was like January 2nd or whatever. And I was like, hey, Happy New Year.
Okay.
Yeah. I got to shoot. That's the first thing. I didn't mean to shoot you. Although I remember when it was New Year's in Lansing, and I swear it was gunfire rather than fireworks.
Oh. It might have been.
And it's quite possible that was the case. It's a crazy city. It's not as crazy as some, but there's plenty of craziness that goes on. But anyway, welcome everyone. It's Wednesday. It's Don't Worry Wednesday. We've had an amazing day. I'm not exactly sure what you're going to get tonight because Ryan and I have both been working pretty hard today. But we're super glad to be here. And for those of you who haven't been here before, this is a show where we handle any issues or challenges you might be having. Just go ahead and post them in the chat, or you can post them on our website here. You can post them right here. Boom.
Yep. And if you want to remain anonymous, you can send us an email.
Yes.
What is the
email address is dww@bss.studio. Yeah. So you can send us an email there, and we will keep you anonymous. The only thing is we may not necessarily know if you're on the stream or not, if you want to be anonymous. So there's also probably direct message people on Discord. That's another way to remain anonymous. You can find Static P on Discord, or post there in the chat. And we would love to hear from you guys. We've got quite a few backed up here. I see Kendra is here. Welcome, Lasagna, for the first time.
Yeah, hey Lasagna, welcome. See Kay, nice.
Kay is here. Welcome, Kay. And Tef, it's always good to see you. And Kendra, wow, you guys look amazing. And Amira, we haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, well, actually, I believe Amira was here at the end of last stream, just as we were getting leaving. If I remember correctly, that was what happened.
Okay, yeah.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, Lasagna says, please tell me you guys understand my name. I actually don't. Call me naive, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm not, what's the word, knowledgeable in the field.
Kendra understands. Yes, I'm not knowledgeable in the field of.
I do know that lasagna is a wonderful vegetable brought to you by the Irish. No, obviously not a vegetable. It's a PewDiePie song. Okay, no, I had never heard it. I apologize. I have nothing against PewDiePie. I just don't happen to follow him. So or subscribe to him, which. Some may or may not believe that that's a sin, but I'm willing to not worry about that sort of thing. It's gonna be okay.
Yes.
Well, makes you think of meatloaf. Meatloaf's great.
Yes, meatloaf is great, and lasagna is a beautiful fruit.
It's a fruit. Yeah, I said it was a vegetable. That's clearly incorrect. It's a fruit. It's got seeds inside of it, therefore, and an exterior that's edible, so therefore it's a fruit.
It must be a fruit. Yes.
Okay. Anyways.
That is awesome. Well, I tell you what, guys. welcome again. I just have to mention for the legal team, after all, it is BSS Legal Wednesday. For those of you who don't know, we have a website, bss.studio. You can go there, join, register, be part of the forums. We also posted the link that you can post your question on. And we are not professional therapists. We're not professional psychologists or counselors or licensed or anything like that. We just want to be your friend, and we want to offer any perspective, encouragement, love, wrap you up, and make you feel better about whatever situation you're going through. We're not a substitute for therapy. I've been through psychologists and different stuff like that. And I'll tell you one thing about while I was going through issues in that regard. One of the things that made a huge difference was people around me that just encouraged me. You know, that was just such an important part of recovering through a lot of issues that I had dealt with in the past. And we just want to do that for you guys. So if you're going through an issue, please post, and we would love to talk about it. So.
Yeah, when you mentioned wrapping people up, for some reason I got the mental image of like literally taking people and like wrapping them up in a blanket like a burrito, like just rolling them in a blanket. I don't know why, but I had that imagery. But yeah, Lasagna is the first time that we've seen you. Thank you for joining us. And feel free to just enjoy yourself, talk in the chat, and be a part of the community. We're full of fun-loving, kind people who are trying to lift each other up. So if you've got anything you want to talk about that you're dealing with, feel free to talk. Or if you have something that you've been through and you want to help someone else out in the chat, you know, someone that's having a problem, feel free to message and say, hey, I've got some advice, you know. Yeah, you're welcome to do that.
Absolutely.
Enjoy yourself.
Absolutely.
So, cool.
So we've got a few questions still sitting in on the website. Did we do the anonymous one, how to be more outgoing?
Anonymous. Wait.
You see it? It was posted on February 8th.
February 8th.
Princess says yes. Okay, thanks, Princess.
Okay.
So we did that. We do have one from Angel about addiction. I don't see Angel here. Angel, if you are here, you would actually technically be first in line. But we will wait for you to come back to the stream to handle that that challenge of yours. We also have an older one from Aaron of McD. I know it's not what.
Aaron.
Aaron of McD of MC.
Nope.
And I haven't seen Aaron. Hopefully I did not offend you by calling you that, but that's just, it's MCD, not McD. Thank you, Princess. You're awesome. Yes. No, Haley, you are amazing. And speaking of amazingness, we got a shout out to Jesse, our producer. He's awesome. He's the guy that makes sure we are actually on here on the screen, and he's the guy who pushes us live when I'm making noises like that, because he's awesome. And we also got a shout out to Princess Yellow, or you can just call her Princess because she's awesome. And she is our chat room hostess, and she helps everybody to feel welcome and make sure all of our stuff kind of gets organized from the chat into our website and stuff. So thank you very much, both of you, for working so hard behind the scenes. You guys make this show possible. So yes. And absolutely. So all right, so we've got an anonymous one about relationship fears, and then we have one from Kendra. and then we have one from Uni, and we have one from Elizabeth, who is also Cherry. Shadow Lux, who posted on the website recently, and then Amira, who is here and said something. So,
yeah.
Do we know if Anonymous is here?
That's my question. How did we acquire this one? Through what medium?
Princess. Okay. Says at the end of it. Oh, Anonymous doesn't want theirs anymore.
Okay.
So we can move
there you go.
Anonymous. Anonymous
All right.
is okay.
So that gets that straight to Kendra.
They don't wish it anymore. Okay. Well, thank you for posting at any rate, Anonymous. And if you do feel like having us go over anything, just let Princess know or let us know in an anonymous way, and we'd be happy to. So yeah. What about Akil's? Where is Akil's? Oh, we did have one from Akil. Was it?
Yeah.
Do you know which one that was?
We have
I see one called Thicker Than Water.
Yeah. Read carefully. Don't read aloud right away. Yeah.
Oh, is that the one?
Yes. That's from Akil.
Please do not read aloud. Oh yeah, and I said.
Yeah, and then
I never read.
You have to read.
I'm so busy. I'm sorry, Akil.
Yeah, this is quite lengthy. I can see why he said don't read it aloud. But he does have the question summarized at the end. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's important to read all of the stuff beforehand because it gives you perspective on what exactly they are going through on a more.
Here, I have a thought. How about we start with Kendra's because she's here, and then while you're talking, I will read through Akil's, and then while I'm talking, you can read through Akil's.
Okay.
We could do that, and then we'll have the background. We can do Akil's after that. How does that sound? Akil, we have kept you waiting, and I apologize for that.
But we appreciate your patience.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
So we'll get started with Kendra.
Cool. Let's do it. So this is self-conscious about videos.
Yep. Kendra, thank you again for being here. You have really become a great regular guest here on our show. And yeah, thanks for being here and everything. So Kendra's post about self-conscious about videos. And it says, you all know I was planning on perhaps making art lessons on my channel, but recently I started to create some role play ASMR videos. Right now, they aren't that good because of the equipment I am using, which is just my phone and headphones. I feel good about creating this, and I feel like it will help me be able to talk out loud when I start my art lesson videos. I'm a bit self-conscious of my voice, even though I have had many people tell me that they liked it. Sadly, though, I have too many ideas in my head, but I don't have the proper equipment to be able to create the videos that I want. Excuse me. I don't want to just create videos for views. I want to create works of art in a way. I know you have talked about my self-consciousness before, but this is different because people are actually, in a way, hearing me. They aren't hearing my singing voice. They're hearing me, my acting voice. It's kind of scary, but it feels good in a way. I don't know. What do you think? Kendra. And she has an update. I found my microphone, so some of the new content I made sounds better. I'm also going to collaborate with another ASMR YouTuber. I just hope I can give him what he wants for the voice. And perhaps you could explain what ASMR is, Ryan, just to clarify for everyone.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go right to Google and type in ASMR because they're going to give you the best kind of definition here.
Oh, yeah.
ASMR, noun, a feeling of well-being. A feeling of well-being combined with tingling sensation in the scalp and down the back of the neck, as experienced by some people in response to a specific gentle stimulus, often particular often a particular sound. So ASMR is a response of a tingling sensation down your spine and in your scalp because of a sound, usually a sound.
Interesting.
Now ASMR, that's what ASMR is, but it branched out into meaning anything that could possibly cause that sound, and especially things like, kind of whispering or talking softly into the mic, being able to hear the inflection of every mouth opening smack and everything. It's kind of an interesting field of audio and video sensation. But there's a lot of people who really like ASMR stuff. But yeah, it's kind of like its own genre.
Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, ASMR is fun. ASMR is listening to Static P perform. Aw, thanks, Taff. I love you. You're awesome.
It does send chills down the back of your head and your neck and stuff, and it gives you that the warm, tingly feeling to listen to the Static P. That's for sure.
The P.
The P.
Yeah, I get ASMR every single time I talk, and I mean, it's hard being me. No, just that's not true at all. But actually, that's a great lead into this topic. So I'm sure you've heard us talk about this before, Kendra, but maybe not. When I first started singing and recording myself singing, I was very nervous about what other people would think, because I wasn't particularly fond of my voice. I was not someone who really enjoyed his own voice and was confident in putting that out there. If anything, I thought my own voice was cringy, and really didn't want other people to hear it. But I knew that someone had to sing my songs, and it was going to be a lot easier for me to do so. So I sung them. But listening to them, I'd be like, ooh, it's not so great, And Joe went through the same thing as well, just listening to his own voice and being like, it's not that great, blah, blah, blah. That's something that pretty much everybody goes through for the most part. Some people luckily get to skip over that phase, but most people don't like the way that their own voice sounds when it's recorded, no matter how good the recording equipment is. So, what that is it's something that you start to kind of just get used to, and over time you can build an appreciation for your own voice or for what you sound like. It's kind of like, at first you listen to yourself and you're like, oh, that's, because it's yourself, you're just like, oh, that's cringy and it's weird. And what, people are not going to like this because I don't really like it that much. But then you'll find out other people aren't really paying attention that much that they would think that your voice is bad. Some people might say, oh, I really like your voice, which is awesome. But what happens is, as you do more and more recording, you get more and more used to listening to yourself. And after a while, you start to appreciate the voice that you're given. And I think that's really important. We all have our own voices. Everybody sounds slightly different for the most part. And it's a gift, you didn't get to pick it, but it's unique to you and only you have it. It is a special, unique gift that is yours. How you sound, your voice, your inflections, the way you speak, all of that. Part of what makes you you. And I think that's something to appreciate, something to look at and say, thanks. I'm glad I have this. I'm glad that I have something unique to call my own, and that I can use my voice to share whatever it is in the world that I'm sharing. We don't get to pick it. So it just is what it is. And we can either hate it or we can love it, And if we hate our own voice, it's gonna just do no good for us. But if we can at least accept our voices and be okay with it, then we can move on, and not worry so much about what other people have to think about it. Because ultimately, no matter what other people think of it, our voice is still our voice, right? I mean, it's not something we can just, I suppose we can voice act, change our voice in that way. But your natural voice is your natural voice. And no matter whether people like it or don't like it, it is what it is. And that doesn't really change anything. It's just everybody has their own opinions. But anyways, I say that because it sounds to me that mostly you're just nervous about what other people are going to think here. And I encourage you to say by saying, even I am nervous from time to time about what other people are going to think of my stuff. Not because it really matters a whole lot, just because I'm, curious and I don't know how people are going to react. Every song I put out, I don't know if people are going to like it or dislike it. But I have to put it out to find out.
They're going to like it.
I kind of had to put it out there just to see and get a grasp for it, see if people do like it. And then that can give me a direction on whether the songs that I'm writing are getting worse or getting better or staying the same. It's all kind of a learning experience, if you will. But yeah, if you're conscious about your voice, that's very normal, very relatable. I went through that. Joe went through that. Almost like anybody I've talked to that records themselves, that records their own videos of them talking. Pretty much everybody's always like started on the foot of, oh no, people are going to hear my voice. And it's not the most attractive voice in the world. I hope people can forgive me for my weird sounding voice. Mm-hmm. Like everybody goes through that. And they hate the way that their voice sounds at first. But as they continue to just put it out there anyways, they start to be more and more comfortable. And that's really like anything you do in life. You get more comfortable the more you do it, right? Mm-hmm. So what I would encourage you to do is just start posting stuff, or just start recording stuff. And the more you record, I mean, it might not take you long, and it might, sometimes you go through that phase where you're like, oh, I don't like the way this sounds or blah, 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 for like a year or 2 years or 3 years. And then you finally start getting used to it. But usually the more you're constantly putting stuff out, the faster you get used to your voice and just accept it as it is. Whether it's your voice or your looks or the way that you speak, your inflections or your tones or your, style of talking or accent or whatever, your content, your teaching style. These are all things that you can work on and get better at. But for the most part, it's a lot of just getting comfortable with yourself, because you're doing something new. You're doing something you haven't done before. So it's completely normal to be a little bit self-conscious about it and saying, am I doing this right? Is it going to sound good? I think those are good questions, and they're important. You don't want to put something out without ever even asking, is this even worth watching? Or is this good? Right? Mm-hmm. They're important questions. And we have those questions in the back of our heads for a reason. And they do make us self-conscious and make us worry. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because that's part of what makes our end product so much better. Because if we never felt that feeling of like, oh, I don't know if this is good enough. I don't know if this is good enough to put on YouTube, or if people are going to like this. If we never asked those questions to ourselves and worried about that sort of thing, we would never go back to fix our mistakes. We would never look into and say, how can I make this better? How can I make this more enjoyable, more entertaining, more educational? What's a better way of saying this so that people can understand me better? Because this part could be confusing or misleading. Asking things like that make a better product in the end. So it's part of what makes it a good thing that you kind of worry about how other people are going to see you. in this sense. But don't let that worry hold you back, but instead allow that worry to move you forward and make you stronger, make you better. Because you can be so worried where you're just like, okay, I just won't post anything, you know? And that's the wrong move. You got to post stuff and get feedback, at least, if nothing else. As we've said before, for our songs, the song is not complete until it's posted. Mm-hmm. That's just the way it is, because until it's out into the world, it's doing nothing. And I mean, you could write an entire song, but no one ever listens to it, and not even you, you don't go back and listen to your songs a whole lot of times over and over most of the time. Sometimes you do, but sometimes when you write a song, you get sick with it by the end. You're like, man, I don't want to hear that song for a month, at least, maybe like a year, you know? I had to rewrite that song like 17 times, and I am just done with it. Sometimes that happens. Mm-hmm. But if we don't post a song, then it does no good for the world. It doesn't add any value to anybody's lives. And that's really ultimately what you're trying to do, right? The whole point of posting these videos is not for you, it's for other people, right? I mean, it is for you in a way, and that's good. It can be for you at the same time as it is for other people. But ultimately, it's not just for you, it's for other people as well. And so you actually have to post something, whether it's the best thing in the world or not, doesn't really matter. First of all, there is no best. And second of all, you're going to get better the more you do it, period. Mm-hmm. It's just how it is. I mean, you look at any single YouTuber out there who's been around for a long time, and you look at their first videos and you look at their latest videos, and you will see a giant difference in quality. Mm-hmm. You'll see quality in just video making and how they are entertaining, their cuts, when they realize, okay, this segment is drawing on too long. I need to cut this off and just kind of get it over with. Things like that. I mean, you pick up on those things as you progress and do videos more and more. You get better at that sort of thing. So it's very natural what you're going through. And so I just encourage you to plow through it, because pretty much everybody's been in that boat. And the best way to get to the other side of the sea on that boat is to start paddling through it. To try to figure out how to use that analogy of the boat. Yeah. But anyhow, yeah, that's my best. What would you have to say about this?
Well, it's absolutely true. I love everything you touched on, because that's so true that I don't think anybody likes the sound of their own voice. And I don't think, and I know that anybody who ever starts doing something, they're never good at it the first time they do it. So, and when they get started. So it's always, that beginning stage is the toughest, but it's the same in anything, whether it's YouTube or, school, or when you start a new job or anything. I mean, it's always, you start off and you've got like almost no skill. Mm-hmm. You might have some desire and some energy to do it. You're like, okay, I really want to get to this point, but you got to go through that time of getting good. In fact, I've talked about this before. There's an exercise program. Well, there's an exercise that I do every morning, and it's like a long program called object writing. And it's a technique that I'm using that I learned to help get better at writing lyrics, and help be faster and better at writing lyrics. And so every morning what I do is I take 10 minutes, and so I set a timer for 10 minutes, and I just write about something. I just start writing, and the whole goal is to write in terms of senses. So use all of my senses, get all of my senses involved: sight, smell, taste, touch, feeling, and there's different senses as well. that kind of go into this, but the whole idea is to go deep into the sense factor of everything. So really get descriptive in those terms, because that's how lyrics speak to us. They speak to us through the senses, and that's how we really start to identify with a song. So, but this book that I got it out of, it was saying, okay, so you need to do this every morning when you, like, first thing in the morning, you get up, you know, you do whatever you do to wake up, you know, or go to the bathroom, get some water, get some coffee, whatever. And then, but first thing you do, sit back down and start writing. Set a timer and write for 10 minutes. And he said, the thing with this guy is, he's like, you're not going to notice any change for about 6 weeks. So you're going to do this every day. And you're going to see no result, no big change, nothing tangible for 6 weeks. So you're just going to do this for 6 weeks, and you're not going to see much progress. I mean, you might progress a little bit, but he said anyone who's ever stuck it out for 6 weeks, what happens is it becomes a habit, and then they start to say, you know, that 6 weeks was the difference maker in me being a marginal lyric writer to being an amazing lyric writer. That 6 weeks was the beginning of the process of me getting to this point. And he's got Grammy Award winners that he has taught that use this same process of writing lyrics. And so I was like, wow, well, that really says something. So I'm going to try it. I'm just going to start doing it. And who knows? It's only 10 minutes every day. That's not very long. You know, I can do that. I can do 10 minutes, sit down with my coffee and, you know, write for 10 minutes. No big deal. And so I've been doing it, and I'm about 3 weeks in, and he's right. I'm not seeing much change in anything, but I'm still doing it. So Kendra, I have to say, I am super proud of you for just getting started. Here you are, you're doing it. You're doing some ASMR stuff, and it looks like I see your post. I'm excited, but also nervous about this collab that I have with another YouTuber. I want to do a good job. I have to do an Irish accent while being sassy. I can be sassy, but to keep the accent while doing it is hard. I totally can understand that.
I wouldn't be able to pull that off myself.
So. That's nuts. But that's awesome. I mean, if you totally can do it, you can do it. But the point is that you're actually taking action and you're starting to do it. What's going to happen now is you're going to get all the little things figured out, you know, all the little mechanical things of uploading a video and how to do all the data, do all the different stuff and figuring out all that stuff in your photo at the beginning and all that. That stuff is going to be out of the way quickly. So you're going to know how to do that. It's going to be automatic. And then you can start focusing on the content. You can start focusing on, how do I get better quality content? Do I need better equipment? Do I need better, you know, do I just need to learn to use my equipment to its fullest potential? Because you can do a lot with a phone. You really can. I mean, there are good cameras on a lot of phones, and you really can do a lot with just a cell phone. Maybe you need to upgrade to a webcam. Maybe you need to upgrade to, you know, maybe a DSLR. It just kind of depends on where you're at. But as you progress, you can start to upgrade all these things. But yeah, the thing to remember is you should feel very encouraged right now, because the actions you're taking are building this in you, and it might be a while before you see results. I mean, who knows? I mean, Ryan, how long? I've watched you since you started posting YouTube videos, right? Mm-hmm. And since you started posting them regularly, it took you a while before you started to have a pretty commanding audience.
Oh yeah, for sure. Many years.
Yeah, so I mean, it takes some time to get some of this stuff done. But the idea is, I also learned this other part from studying podcasters. And there's certain podcasts that I really like. And one of the things I've noticed is that the people who become successful are the ones who are consistent. In the podcasting world, it seems like at least once a week to have a podcast end up becoming popular. And I've kind of watched this guy progress. I listened to his podcast. He actually started it back in 2016. And so he's been going now for about 3 years. And I started at the very beginning from his first podcast. And I just listened to him. I kind of binged on his podcast for a while. And I listened to everything kind of start to change, a few months in, and he had started a Patreon page. And then a few months in, then he had started his own website and kind of let go of the Patreon page and moved everybody to his website. And then memberships on the website. And then eventually he, different announcements, and he started thanking people that would comment, and he started adding other platforms. And he just listened to the announcements that he would make on his podcast. And just from releasing every week and making small incremental improvements over time and just tweaking things a little bit and tweaking things a little bit and moving things a little bit over here and then moving things. When he got to the 1 year mark of doing this every week, he released a podcast every week. And then he also had special members only stuff too. So like he had that one going out once a week, and then he had a members only podcast once a week as well. So, that kind of grew from there. But at the 1 year mark, he made an announcement on his podcast, and he said, now I am able to do this full time. So unfortunately, because of my popularity, I'm going to have to put some ads on here. I will make them as entertaining as possible, and I will try and tie them in with the story that I'm telling in this podcast, and so he's done a very good job of doing that with the ads, making them relate to whatever he's talking about, and then also making them entertaining in the way that he does that. So, but it was really interesting to watch that progression. But where it started was his consistency of once a week putting out a podcast. Every week he would put out a new podcast every week. And that is kind of the same with YouTubers.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Another YouTuber I know, Creative Sound Labs, I've learned a lot from him as far as audio engineering and stuff like that. He has put out a video every week for a long time, and it took him a little while, but now he's got, 25,000, 30,000 subscribers, and he's doing pretty good. He's got his own website with a whole bunch of training programs and stuff on there. So there's all kinds of great stuff that you can do. But it all begins with exactly what you're doing now, which is getting started, you're doing it, and then doing it consistently. And as you continue to do it, you will just make little small incremental changes, little improvements, and you'll grow into something pretty awesome, I bet. So
nice.
Yeah, I think you're on the right track. So
yeah, I'm proud for you. I'm proud of you for giving anything like this an attempt. It does take a lot of guts, and we appreciate you sharing your concern for yourself. And it's kind of like you're worried about how the people see you. So relatable. I'm glad that you shared that, because that's what everybody goes through when they start doing something like this, when they start being creative and sharing their creations to the world, or going out of their way to try to be something, try to grow in a specific field that they are new to. This is a wonderful thing. And so it's great that you got to share that with us. And yeah, I'm just proud of you for even attempting to make this change and improvement in your life. That's so cool.
Yeah. And I see here, Kendra, you just posted, there's one video that I redid 7 times. I totally understand that.
Relate to that.
These are the stories you're going to develop, and it's fun, where you would never have these stories if you didn't start doing it. Action creates all these stories. So I'm really proud of you, Kendra. I think it's awesome that you're just starting and going. And my encouragement to you would be to just continue, keep going, and you'll see some pretty amazing things happen that you probably didn't even plan on happening, but they come your way. And that's pretty cool.
Nice.
So anyway, thank you, Kendra, for posting. And wow, I think I can't wait to see some of the more stuff you have. Everybody can go to your channel. You just click the 3 little dots next to Kendra's corner, and a little menu will pop up. You can go to her channel and check out some of her stuff. So
yeah, that's true.
And also you can check some of her stuff out, artist22 at bss.studio. Well, that's not the email address,
that's
but
not an email address. That's
if you go to bss.studio, you find artist22. She's put some tremendous artwork up.
Or is it 21?
It's 22.
Okay, good.
I'm looking at it right now.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure.
Thank you, Kendra, and keep it up. Keep it up. I'm really proud of you.
Me too.
So awesome. So are we moving on to Akil's?
Yeah, I'm almost done reading through it.
Okay.
I'm reading through it to speak. I'm nearly to the end, but I'm a slow reader. But yeah.
Okay.
You can go ahead and start it off.
Okay. I can start it off. Now, Akil has posted a topic called Thicker Than Water. And I'm going to post a link to it here in the chat. Right there. And don't forget my special post for Jesse. And let's see. So there's a background story to Akil's post here. So it takes a little bit to read it, but there's a lot of information in there that goes along with the sentiment of what the question is. But all right, so I will read the question, and we'll go from there. So the question from Akil with regard to Thicker Than Water. The question says, how do you handle people with superiority complex when they're your own family? And then the next question, how do I stop feeling that people should be indebted to us? And then how do I be professional with my own family?
All right. So I have read it through it all now. Okay. Those are awesome questions, Akil.
Those are really great questions. They really, a lot of people have to deal with this, especially in the event like you're dealing with inheritance sometimes. And yeah, it's that's really, really tough. But yeah, lasagna, yeah, you'll have to read through it when you can. So, oh, see you later, Kendra.
Oh, bye-bye, Kendra. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Plus.
So anyway, how do you handle people with superiority complex when they're your own family? How do I stop feeling that people should be indebted to us? And how do I be professional with my own family? Ryan, do you have any thoughts on these questions from Akil?
Sure. Yeah, again, thanks. I'm glad you posted all that you did. I read through it. It took me a while because I'm a slow reader, but I got through it. And it's quite an interesting story situation. To sum it up briefly, this is something about his family. Obviously, you can see in the question, dealing with inheritance and certain members of the family being obligated or choosing not to be obligated to take care of other family members because, other family members need help, but they're choosing not to help them when they have the full capabilities and things like this. Yeah. So the question, ends up being, how do you deal with people who have superiority complex when they're your own family? How do I stop feeling people should be indebted to us? And how do I be professional with my own family? Those are great questions. Again, one thing I should say, you mentioned a lot or a few times that within your post that you are being greedy. And I think that's an interesting statement, because I would say that you know yourself better than I know you. But one thing that you can say is that you are jealous, but jealousy is not bad. Um, Here's the thing. Jealousy is wanting something for yourself that you deserve. That's jealousy. Um, and there's nothing wrong with that. Uh, a lot of times in the English language, we mix the words jealousy and envy, but they're very different things. Envy is seeing something else, or something that somebody else has, and not just wanting it, but wanting to hurt that person because they have it. It's kind of like this. You're walking down the street and you see your neighbor bought a new car. Jealousy would say, man, I've been working just as hard as them. I wish I had a car like that. That'd be nice. And there's nothing wrong with that. Envy would be seeing that car and then taking a knife and slashing their tires and saying, shows you, yeah, jerk, having a better car than me. Yeah, way to show off, and getting all angry, and slashing their tires and keying their car up and scratching and throwing rocks to their windows or whatever. That's envy. Envy is wanting to destroy something that another person has, or wanting to hurt somebody or make someone else feel bad. When you look at them and the things that they have, it's when you look at something and it instills this anger where you just want to hurt them. Whereas jealousy is wanting justice. A lot of times you can see the world and you say, well, this isn't fair. This isn't right. These people aren't doing what they should be doing. And you can be jealous in those ways and be righteous. You can be jealous in those ways, and that's not wrong. That's not evil, right? And so I think greedy also works in the same way. Yeah, you could say that you're greedy because you want what's owed to you. But if it's owed to you, or if it's, I suppose, something that you've worked for, or you've earned or deserved or whatever, it's not necessarily being greedy to want those things. In fact, wanting things it just means you have a desire. It doesn't mean that you're greedy just because you want it. Whether that be like an inheritance, or wanting other people to step up and help out rather than you having to do everything yourself, things like that, which you're dealing with. You just said, we were just nephews. Hold on. Am I coming into this? Okay, no, I'm not. Okay. All right. We were just nephews. Our relative looked down on us, but still expected us to serve the family when they themselves won't or aren't. Yeah, right. There's nothing wrong with looking at a situation and thinking, hey, this isn't right. These people should be acting differently than they are acting. And sure, you might have you might be saying that because you have a lot harder of a life because of that. And you could say, well, it's greedy to want a different life. But I think that's a great thought to have, because ultimately we have what we have, and we just need to accept what we have. Just come to grips with it and say, this is just the way things are. This is the way that people are choosing to act, and how do we move forward? Which is what you're asking. How do we move forward from here? How do you impact your family on these type of deals, right? Mm-hmm. The reason I said everything so far, the reason I touched on all of that, is just to level with you and say, don't look down on yourself. Don't feel overly greedy. I mean, you know you better than I do, but I don't want you to shame yourself for wanting something better. there's nothing wrong with wanting something better.
No.
And I think that it's good. It's a good, healthy thing. Even if it's just for you and you want something better for yourself, there's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, honestly, Akil, you're not even being necessarily selfishly greedy, because you want this to be better, not just for you, but for your other family members too, for your brothers, for your father, for your mother, and even for the people who are causing the issues or having the superiority complexes and so on. You want the best for them as well. You want them to move forward, move past that. That's why you're asking. How do you handle those people? How do you make the changes in them that they need? And this is such a hard topic, because changing the life of a stranger is far often easier than trying to make an impact on changing a member of the family. That's just how it is and how it's always been. When it comes to like, hey, you need to step up more and participate in this or that or whatever, and you're dealing with somebody who's not a family member, it's easy to talk about it's easy to talk to them about those things. It's easy to share a mutual respect and work together to improve those areas of life. But when it's family, we often show our worst sides to our family members. Mm-hmm. The reason we do that is because, one, we're comfortable with them. They've already seen our worst side, and they've seen our worst sides over and over and over and over. So why not just be our worst? Because that's easier than trying to have to figure out how to be our best all the time. Right? That's number one. It's so easy to be just lazy when it comes to your own self-growth and improvement and being a good person. When it comes to family, it's so easy to just drop all of that, because they've seen you at your worst and they've still loved you regardless of it. It's unfortunate, but that's just how most family situations are. And so because that's the case, because they have very little motivation to grow in that environment, or to change, or to show any different, to try to improve. And, a lot of times people see their own faults. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't notice them. Someone has to point them out to them. But most of the time, people who have superiority complex or whatever, they kind of know. They have an idea that they have that. Sometimes they need someone to show them or point them in a different direction. But when it's in the family, it does make it so much harder. It's hard to approach those people, also because there's a different level of respect within the family unit a lot of times. Mm-hmm. You have a respect for your neighbors that is different than the respect you have for your family. What's weird is we have this weird idea. It's like, we don't let the family, we respect our family, but not the same way. And so we don't let the family change who we are. We just are who we are to the family. And that's not necessarily correct thinking, but that's kind of just how it is for most people. So how do you get past that? How do you help someone? How do you handle someone? How do you deal with somebody who is family, who isn't likely going to change when it comes to this sort of thing? Because their respect for you is on a different level than it is for someone that is an outsider. someone that they're trying to impress, someone they're trying to prove something to, someone that they have respect for. For some reason, we don't have a whole lot of respect within the family in our current age, and it's unfortunate. And now clearly you do, Akil, which is awesome. But yeah, there's a lot of people who they don't respect their family. They think that their family is against them. And in large part, that is the case because they've made their family out to be that. And because when you think your family hates you, you treat them differently. You treat them like you hate them back. And then you end up with a family who does hate you, you know? And that happens. Anyways, back to the question. How do you handle people with superiority complex when they're your own family? One thing is to, understand that you have to forgive them regardless. Just like you said, this whole point, you said thicker than water. You talked about in this cutting water with a knife, it does nothing, right? And that's the way a family is supposed to be, right? You can try to cut the family apart, but if the family is like water, it's like it's the same thing even if you cut it. And I think that's a great. I've never heard that phrase before, but I really like it. And you need to have that forgiveness first of all, because you're never going to have the relationship that can change them if you don't have that forgiveness. Because if you hold a grudge with them, you're not going to make the actions necessary to get close to them. You're not going to have the respect you're not going to show them respect because they don't deserve it. And then they're not going to give you respect back because you don't respect them. And therefore you don't deserve it. If you want to help somebody move forward in in their issues in life, your relationship with that person is really important. And so in order to have your ideas respected before them, you might tell them to their face, like, hey, all of this is going on and you know about it. Can you help out, please? You can say that to them. But if you don't have that respect from them, that comment will sound like an attack rather than a supportive role. Because you are saying such a thing because you want them to help out. You want them to be part of the family. That's really why you're telling them, like, hey, can you help out? You're part of the family too. We're part of the family. I'm part of the family. We're family. And you can be closer to us and we can be closer to you if you get involved with this stuff and caring for us and us caring for you, but they won't hear any of that. They'll just hear, I don't like you. I don't respect you. Everything you do is wrong. And, blah, blah, blah. Even though you don't say any of that, that's what they're going to hear when you try to tell them that we need to change things. Because a lot of times when people hear, hey, we need to change some things, immediately they think this person is calling me wrong because everything I've done in the past, they're trying to change, which means they think that I'm wrong, which means they hate me. Which means they think that I'm stupid and I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm doing. And so I don't like them either. Because, who are they to call me stupid? And it's like, whoa, I didn't say any of that. But if you don't have the respect, that's immediately what they're going to think, unfortunately. So you got to build that respect first. And how do you build that? Unfortunately, it's weird, but you got to respect them first. You got to respect their dignity as a human being. You got to respect the decisions that they make. and love them where they're at. Because no one's perfect. And, you are admitting your own problems here in all of this. You're admitting your own faults because you're not perfect. And that's awesome. Everybody else is the same. Everybody has their problems. And we have to start by just accepting people where they're at, loving people where they're at, not making a judgment, not going, you're messing up here, 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 and I don't like you because of this. I don't like you because of that. We don't want to do that, because what that does is it reduces our understanding of that human. It reduces the dignity of that person. It makes us look at that person, and instead of treating them like an incredible individual, we end up treating them like dirt or like a problem. And we don't want to treat people like a problem. Because Joe talked about this, I think it was last week. When you treat somebody better than they are, when you treat them like the person that you want them to become, it's like, I want you to be better at this. I want you to be better at that. But instead of telling them that, you just treat them like they already are better at those things. And you're so proud of them. A lot of times what happens is they start to live up to those things. They start to feel motivated. They start to feel inspired by your kindness. They start to feel encouraged to try again, to try to figure themselves out and move forward past their problems again. But if you treat them like they're acting, if they're acting childish, and so you treat them like they deserve, like they're children, like they're being selfish and so on, and you treat them like that, they're not going to be inspired to change. They're going to be put down. They're going to be discouraged rather than encouraged. So when it comes to this, especially with family, it's hard because everything that's wrong with a person. I think that's one of the main differences between a family and a stranger is you don't when you meet a stranger, you don't know all of their faults. And you aren't comfortable with all of their faults, having been around them for so long. And just like, this is just how things are. With a stranger, it's a new experience. And so you don't have all of the baggage, right? You don't have that concept of discouragement. You encourage your stranger friend. The first time you meet them, you're impressed by different things about them, and you tell them that, like, oh my gosh, that's so cool that you went out of your way to do this or that or whatever it is. And they're encouraged by that. But how often do we do that for family? How often do we take time out of our lives to go to the family member who's doing it wrong, to tell them about the things that we are impressed with them about? We almost never do that for family. And that's unfortunate because we need to. Because that's what's going to encourage them to move past their problems, because they know they've got problems. Sometimes they are blind to them. Sometimes they don't know what their problems are, but they know they've got them. They can feel them. They can see the results of their actions, and they're like, I'm doing something wrong here. I don't know what. I hate this. And they don't have anyone to help them through it. They don't have anyone to show them. And they can't look to their family, because family is the worst thing. You don't want your family looking down on you. So you can't open up your problems to your family, because, you don't want your family looking at you and going, oh, wow, you're a terrible person. You've done all of these things wrong, and unfortunately, because we can't open up to them, that's what they end up saying. Because we never take the time to go, hey, I've got these problems. Can you help me? To our family, all they see is our worst. All they see is our worst day in and day out, and us not really getting better because we don't have that encouragement. And so then in the end, we end up messing things up, because rather than opening up and becoming vulnerable to them so that they can help shape us, we put up this wall that says, hey, you know, I'm blocking family out from now on because I don't want to get hurt by my family for looking at me and judging me and saying and showing me all of my problems where I've messed up and I know I've messed up, right? It's hard. It's hard. So we have to look at our family as human beings, loving them wherever they're at, understanding they've got problems, but those problems are not as important as they are. Mm-hmm. Those problems aren't nearly as important as they are as just a human being. Mm-hmm. The problem isn't what makes a human being a human being. You know, if you do something wrong to me, right? I can remember it, but that's not what makes you who you are, that one wrong thing you did to me. And the same thing is true for doing a good thing to me. What we have to do is just love them where we're at and start working with them, encouraging them, treating them like they're better than what they're doing. And sometimes it takes that. Sometimes you just say, hey, you're better than that. Come on. It's tough love sometimes. Sometimes we have to be tough with our family. Sometimes the only way to get it through to our family's head is to be really sincerely, gently tough. Like setting them down and being like, hey, look, here's the deal. I love you. You are amazing at these things. You have a big heart. You, whatever, you know, you list off things that you are like, I am impressed with you. But here's the thing. You got to step up over here. You've got to start doing this thing because or things are falling apart and we need you. And I'm sorry to be hard on you, but we need you. And you can't just do this. You're dragging us down with you, you know? And sometimes that kind of comment, because you've opened it up with, hey, I can see there's so much wonderful potential in you and you've done a lot of things right. But you got to shape up. That kind of mentality, a lot of times that's what you have to do for family because they don't hear it any other way. Because it's only until then that they are forced to open up. You know, a lot of times you go through that scenario and they just kind of break down and cry and go, you know, you're right. I gotta fix some things, you know? So that's my best advice there. How do you stop feeling people should be indebted to you? You know, I kind of covered that with jealousy. It's not wrong to want the right thing, to want things to be fair. But again, I think you just sometimes need to accept life is what it is, and say, this is just how it is. It's unfair. Yes, it's not fair, but that's just how it is. How do I move forward from here? Let's not worry about the past. Let's not worry about who owes who what. Let's just worry about moving forward and making this the best life we can. Mm-hmm. Let's not worry about what's owed to us. Let's just forgive those things. Let's take where we're standing right now with all of the gifts we have that I am thankful for. What can I do from here to move forward? Rather than looking at what you don't have, look at what you do have. Because you have a lot. And you have enough to make your life continue to move forward. You always have enough to do that. Everything you have is a gift, right? You were born with nothing except for the skin on your back. And you didn't make that yourself. Your parents made that for you. That was a gift. Your flesh, your blood, all of it, everything in life is a gift. And we have things, and we can't be too concerned about the things we don't have. Those things can lead us. Sometimes we like, man, I don't have this, but I really want it. I'm going to work hard to get it. Well, that's awesome. Now you're looking forward to the future. But if you're worried about the past, well, you can do nothing about it. You know, the past is the past, and mistakes were done. Mistakes were made. And maybe somebody owed you something and they never paid you back. But you still have a lot, even without that. And you don't need that, clearly, because you exist still. So it's better to just say, I am where I am. I'm not going to worry about who owes me what. I'm just going to forgive them. I'm just going to be like, whatever. Because I'm standing in a spot right now where I can do a lot. I'm standing in a spot right now where I can move forward. I can move myself forward. I can move my family forward. I can continue to grow as an individual. I can do wonderful things. I can add so much value and so much good to the world where I am right now. So what does it matter? What I don't have. What I don't have is never going to help me do anything because I don't have it. But what I do have will help me. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot. So just be thankful for what you have and don't worry about what you don't have. What you don't have, you don't have. And so it doesn't make a difference to you. If people owe you stuff, sometimes you just got to forgive them and be like, oh, you know what? Whatever. I'm never going to see that money. Mm-hmm. And you know what? It doesn't matter because apparently my life, I didn't need it to do the amazing things that I'm going to do with my life. And lastly, how do you be professional with your family? Professionalism. I suppose you have to be strict, to a degree, but mostly, again, it's that stranger family thing. You can be professional with a stranger a lot of times because you don't know them. You haven't seen all of their faults. You haven't had that experience with them. And so if you start to treat your family, not as strangers, but start to treat your family as, I accept these people, even if I know their faults. I love these people and I am going to respect them and the decisions that they've made in life, and respect them for the awesome decisions they've made in their life, especially, and be proud of them for that. If you hold that high on them, if you value them and you show that you value them, it's going to make things a lot more professional. Because then they don't feel like they're being weighed down by all of their problems that you are aware of, because of the mistakes that they made in front of you, right? All that kind of stuff. That's a lot of times why we treat family different than strangers. But anyhow, I know I talked for like 7 hours, so I'm going to be done talking. And I'm not going to say another word this entire rest of the time I'm here. No, okay, that's not true. But I know that you've said you've put some messages through Akil, and I'm gonna let Joe talk about that. Talk about whatever he so feels inspired by.
Well, I got to tell you, first of all, Ryan, thanks for that, because there was a lot there giving you some specific things you can do in order to answer each one of these questions. Like, he really laid it out well. So go back and listen to that. I know it might have been a little lengthy, but the reason it was is because there was a lot of, seriously, Bill, it was good. That's why I was staying shut up the whole time. I was shutting myself up. No, it wasn't 7 hours.
Jeez, yeah, it was 8.
But at any rate, no. So go back and listen to what Ryan said, because there's a lot of stuff, like specific things you can do in each one of those areas and specific ways you can think. The only thing I can add to what Ryan said was, it looks like in this situation, one of the things that's causing a lot of these issues are these inheritances that you've spoken about in the posts. And people get really squirrely when there's like free money on the line.
Yeah.
It gets really weird. And like you said earlier, Akil, people are now showing their true colors. And it's because, people, unfortunately we see that meal ticket, where we're like, ooh, this is, hey, all my problems could be over if I have all this money. But that's not how money works. A lot of times when money comes into your life like that, it brings with it a whole host of problems. Like this.
Yeah.
Like all this nonsense that's going on with your superiority complex people and all the people being selfish and all that kind of stuff. Akil, you say, that's why I call myself greedy. Well, but it sounds to me like you are one of the only ones that's still Okay, sorry, not true colors, different colors. I stand corrected. But they're basically showing this side of themselves based on the fact that they're succumbing to self-centeredness here. And if you feel yourself going in that direction as well, in that direction of greed, in that direction of, self-centeredness and stuff like that, greed is one of those, we've talked about it before. It's one of the 7 deadly sins that's spoken about. And it's not just like, Ryan did a really good job explaining this and differentiating between what greed was and what the simple desire for a better life. There is a difference. Just because you desire better things for yourself, that doesn't necessarily make you greedy. But greed is something to watch out for. And if you are able to identify yourself tending in that direction, that's a really good thing to notice. Because what you can do is you can start applying the virtue that combats greed, which is generosity. So that if you can exercise generosity, I think that would handle just about every single one of these questions that you have on here, all 3 of these. How do you handle people with a superiority complex? Be generous. How do you stop feeling that people should be indebted to us? Be generous. How do you be professional? Be generous. And all of those things can flow out of there. And you've got this lump of money that maybe you're entitled to. Maybe you just say, I don't need it. I don't really want it. I don't want to get involved in the drama. You guys can have it and let go. And the feeling of freedom that comes from generosity is astounding. Financial advisors all over the place, up, down, left, right, everywhere, professionals say, if you're having a problem with money, if you feel yourself stressed out about money, if money is creating problems in your life, the first thing you do is give some of it away. Because what it does is it detaches you from it. There's also another thing you can start doing. And one thing that I've noticed that's helped a lot in these areas, as far as, just kind of separating myself from this type of nonsense that you're going through, is a practice of fasting. And it doesn't have to be extreme fasting, it can just be like skip lunch or something, but something to that degree where you learn to detach yourself from these things. It's an exercise in detachment. That's what giving money away to people without expecting anything in return is. It's an exercise in detachment. You're detaching yourself from the thing, the money. And what that does is it creates far less stress about it. It combats your greed. It will absolutely kill that greed that you feel developing in you. If you start to practice generosity and fasting and learn to detach yourself from material goods. Now, I see your post. It's hard. Money makes the world spin nowadays. I even had to use it to hunt down someone who stole my private information. I need a large sum of it. Okay. So yes, there are times when we need to use money, but money is simply a tool. And I think one of the things that's always helped me out in this type of situation is, I'm always like, what would happen if I just didn't have that money? Well, how would I handle it if I just didn't have it? What would I do? And then I can come up with a plan of how I would handle whatever situation if I didn't have it. And then that makes things a lot easier. And you can go about in a lot more of a peaceful way. You're handling somebody with a superiority complex, have some forgiveness. But when you like what Ryan was saying, you know, if you can be at peace and forgive them for that, and then be at peace with them, a couple of things are going to happen. One, you're not going to really care too much about their superiority complex because you will have forgiven them for it, and you're going to be, hey, whatever, no big deal. And one of the things that's going to happen is you're going to kind of come off as a person that's not going to take their crap. Forgive my language. Because when you're at peace with them and you're just like, hey, you treat them like you would treat anybody else, and you're just like, you know, I respect you, and with that respect, I also command your respect of me. And it's kind of how you end up naturally posturing yourself when you're in that state of peace and that state of detachment and that state of forgiveness. You end up kind of posturing yourself in a way naturally that says, I respect you, and I also deserve your respect. And if you're not going to respect me, well, hey, that's fine, but maybe we won't be able to work these things out. But you can move forward in a very assertive way from that standpoint because you're at peace. You're not concerned about the money. You're not hands grabbing out and wondering, oh my gosh, if I don't have it, what am I going to do? And you're not all nervous about it. You're just calm and at peace. And that's really the key. And that's why the exercises in detachment is because it brings to you that peace of mind that lets you stand with that air of confidence and assertiveness. And it helps you to do all the things that Ryan just spelled out for you. But if you can add that practice of forgiveness, generosity, maybe throw in some fasting in there, just to detach yourself from the drama, detach yourself from the material goods, detach yourself from the money. When you're living in that level of detachment and peace, you are unflappable as a person, I've heard say.
Unflappable.
Unflappable, which means nothing's going to get to you. You're just like, hey, you know what? Whatever. People are going to act their way. You end up in a position where you kind of pity them. You're just like, man, I can't imagine what it'd be like to live that life. They're all bound up like crazy. Like, geez, like this person's got to be in charge of everything. They got this superiority complex. Like, man, something's going to happen to them because the world works the way it works. You've seen it happen where people, you know, things kind of come around. What goes around comes around, you know, all that kind of stuff. That actually tends to happen a lot. So when people need to be in charge of stuff all the time, I've seen it happen before. All of a sudden, something big hits them that they have absolutely no control over. And they are at the mercy of that thing, that condition. They can't do anything about it. And it's the way that just knocks them right down to nothing. And it frustrates the living daylights out of them for a while. And eventually they fight against it. And eventually they got nothing left to do. They just give up and be like, okay, fine. I guess I'm not in charge. I'm not in control of everything. Mm-hmm. And you start to see them start to detach from that. Because really that's an addiction for them. That superiority complex is an addiction. And so those are my recommendations for you, Akil. I know things are kind of complicated. Yeah, and I understand. Okay, you say, I acknowledge this is a valuable resource, so if I'm going to stand a chance in this arms race, I need to be prepared. Yep, it's good to be prepared. C. Actually saving money helped me quit another addiction I had. Smoking is costly. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well done. Nice job, man.
Yes, smoking is expensive.
Proud of you.
So as far as money is concerned, if you want to be prepared and everything, see how little you can live on. Just see, and then stack stuff away. Stack some money away. there are financial principles out there. There's the one of pay yourself first, just throw, anytime you get paid, throw 10% of it into a savings or something, someplace safe where it's stashed away. Then just keep it stashed away somewhere, whether it's in an account somewhere or in a safe or somewhere. And see how little you can live off of. And that's another reason to take up fasting to some degree. It's because when you're fasting, you're not buying food.
At least not a whole lot of it.
Yeah, you buy less food when you take up that discipline of fasting. That's one of our biggest expenses, seriously, is the food we eat.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Eat. But the more you can discipline yourself and train yourself and all that kind of stuff, live off of less, you'll be at more and more peace. You'll be detached from material things. You'll be detached from things around you. And if you can detach yourself from the drama, you will walk around peaceful. Things could happen. And you're like, you know what? Most things don't matter. There are things that matter. I'm going to focus my energy on preparing for the things that do matter. And I'm not going to get caught up in all this stuff that doesn't matter so much. And with that mindset, you'll be able to do all the stuff that Ryan laid out for you. So I really hope some of that helps you.
Yeah. I really like how you opened that up, Joe, with generosity. That was really, really wise and really well put. Well, generosity is the combatant to all of the greed. And pretty much every one of these things can be kind of combated or combatant. I don't know how to say that correctly. With generosity, I think that's really wise and awesome. Generosity.
Well, greed in all of these things seems to be the thing you're fighting against.
Yeah.
In a superiority complex, that person has greed of power.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
With the feeling of indebted, that's greed with regard to money. And to be professional, you need to be in a mindset that makes you a little bit aloof to all this stuff and at peace, and you're not worried about the outcome so much. You can act logically without emotion. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's exactly it. It's kind of interesting because with the generosity principle, or the thing like you said, when you give up some of your finances, I like the example of eating. For example, if you eat 3 times a day, right? Well, every day, 3 times a day, you're going to be hungry. But if you start fasting and you start to wean yourself off of it, you start to say, I'm just going to eat once a day. There were many, many kingdoms, including the Roman Empire, who only ate 1 meal a day. That's it. And when you start to realize that's possible, you start to wean yourself off of it. For the first week, it might be like, man, I am hungry for like every meal that I'm not getting here, but I'm only getting one of the meals instead of 3. Mm-hmm. But after like a month goes by, you don't even want the other meals. You're just like, no, I'm satisfied off of 1 meal. I don't need the other ones. Like they mean nothing to me. I don't even, I don't have any reason to eat more than just 1 meal. I'm fine. I'm doing good. Right. And it's the same thing with finances. You have that hunger for more money because, you're used to having more money, or your mind is on the idea of needing that money to spend that money to live, and so on and so forth. If you just had less money, you could do a whole lot more. You can be at peace with a whole lot less money. You can be at peace with no money. I am telling you, Akil, you can be at peace in life with $0 in your pocket.
Mm-hmm. You can.
Because peace is not a result of money, nor is joy, nor is happiness. Peace has nothing to do with money. But if we have it in our heads, if we have that hunger in our heads, but it's an unnecessary desire, right? Then it can lead us to think that we aren't having peace because we don't have money. But the truth is, we don't have peace for other reasons. Money is just what we're pointing our finger at because we don't have it and we want more of it.
Mm-hmm.
But peace comes from within. Peace comes with being satisfied with what we have, not with what we don't have, not looking at what we don't have. Peace, a lot of times, is knowing we're in the right place at the right time. You know, when I visit church, right? When I go to mass, I know I'm in the right spot. I'm in front of God and I'm with him. I could ask for nothing more. I could want for nothing more. I'm at peace. And I'm not saying you have to be religious to be at peace, but that's an example. When you know that you have what you need and you don't need more, you can want more, but you don't need more. You don't have any idea. You don't have any desires for that are unhealthy, and you build all of that just by pursuing a life of virtue, really getting down. Hey, what is important in life? What is value? How do I live a life of value? What is value? And how do I be value to others and seek value? Understanding all of that helps us a lot more with understanding peace and being able to be more generous and explore those virtues and joys of life. But yeah, I like what Joseph Bohan said before. Money is a tool. I don't remember where his quote is, but okay, I just passed it. Not that money is bad, but if you look to money for security, it won't provide that for you. And that's true. Money doesn't give you security. Money doesn't give you peace. Just like Joe said, if you have problems now, just wait till you get more money. Your problems will get bigger.
Yeah.
Trust me. It happens to pretty much everybody that's ever lived. They've got finance problems. They get some of money out of nowhere. Maybe somebody died in the family, or maybe they won the lottery. And you think, oh, wow, they're saved. No, what ends up happening is the opposite. They get more in debt than they ever were before.
Mm-hmm.
Problems that aren't related to money aren't solved by adding more money to it. Mm-hmm. And problems that are because of money are usually not solved by adding more money to it. They're solved by using money in the correct way. And then when you get more money later on, you can continue to use it in the correct way and you don't have many money problems. Mm-hmm. If you solve your money problems when you have very little money, then and only then will you be capable of handling a sizable amount of money correctly. Mm-hmm. But if you can't handle even a little bit, it's kind of like taking care of a pet hamster. It's easy. But if you can't handle a pet hamster, then you're not going to be able to handle it. A human being and feeding them and taking care of them, I mean, that's a whole way bigger, harder thing than taking care of a hamster. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be able to take care of a horse if you can't even figure out how to take care of a hamster. It's the same thing with money. If you can't take care of yourself when you have little money, if you can't figure out how to be at peace and how to enjoy life when you have no money, then that's not going to change if you've got money. It's going to make your problems bigger. So anyways, I know I said I was done and I'm not going to talk, but I ended up talking. So
You're just fine, Ryan. It's awesome.
Okay, you said money almost destroyed my country. It said every country ever.
Yep, that's true. That's true.
I mean, yeah, Akil, I believe it's in a special way for your country. But yeah, I mean, I believe it.
Yep. So we have this debate in here, talking about money and being able to solve problems. I see some different comments both directions, and it's great to see all of that.
Yeah, I mean, money can solve problems with money. Yes, money doesn't just make everything worse. I'm not saying that for sure. No, you can do wonderful things with money. and money is a beautiful thing. It's a tool, and but I'm just saying, like with your own personal finances, yeah.
Right. And I think the problem to look out for is greed or the love of money. That's a scriptural principle where the love of money is the root of all kinds of evils, which it truly is. I mean, to put all your stock in money rather than thinking of it as a tool to be used for your benefit, in that way, money can be beneficial. It can solve problems. Sometimes a problem arises and it would go away if you could throw money at it.
Yeah. Oh,
like my car breaks, it would just go away if I could just throw some money at it. Absolutely. But simply put, it's a tool and it needs to be regarded as such. It needs to be respected as such because you need to make sure you have some in order to throw it at the things to make the problems go away. But the more you can detach yourself from the need for it or the addiction to it and stuff like that, and that comes through discipline, basically, disciplining yourself financially, disciplining yourself through all these kinds of different things. That's the problem. The attachment to money is the problem. The desire, the inordinate desire for money.
Right.
Not the desire for better life, but just like I just gonna grab all this money. I'm gonna grab all this stuff and have all this great stuff. We watched, I just listened to a podcast about, about Detroit, the city of Detroit here in Michigan. And a recent mayor not too long ago, like bankrupted everything. Like he lived so high on the hog while he was in office and all this kind of stuff. I mean, he had a new suit every day, custom tailored suit, different suit like that he wore every day, had nice cars for his family, all this kind of stuff. And he was getting it all from different contractors and all this craziness. And it just got nuts. Now he's in prison, but it's just nuts. Like, yeah, like you got to watch yourself when it comes to money,
And I like that Akil was talking about smoking earlier because it's the same thing. You don't solve your smoking addiction by getting more cigarettes, right? And you don't solve your money addictions by getting more money. Your money addictions will still be there no matter how much money you have if money is your addiction. It doesn't change. You're like, now I've got $20 instead of $1. So now my addiction is gone. No, now you're going to be like, no, I need like 7,000. And then you get 7,000. You're like, cool. Money. I need more. I need 7 million is what I need. Yeah. Then I'll be happy. Then I'll then I'll feel this ache and pain of desire of money,
right.
And it goes away just because you have more. It's just like smoke.
Yep. And that's the reason why the financial planners say the first step when you're feeling that pull is to get rid of some of it. Give some of it away. Not all of it. You don't have to give all of it away. You just give some of it away. Detach yourself from the need for it. Detach yourself from the addiction to it by giving some of it away. And you can start to do that. And Akil, I really am glad that you posted here. That led to great conversation.
Yes, yeah.
Wow, we haven't talked with you in a while, so it was really nice to have you. But we do need to move on. We've been on your topic for a while. Thanks again, Akil, and post again, please. And you can post if you want to post a little bit of a shorter one, then we'd be able to read it. but we'd be able to read it out loud. I mean, so but thanks again for that, and hopefully some of that was helpful for you. I didn't want to move on to one more. What's that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously kind of derailed and talked about like the money and stuff like that. And you probably knew a lot of that information already, but it's never painful it never hurts to be reminded of, the truths we already know, because sometimes we can admit to like, oh, wow, yeah, I need to step up in that area. myself included. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, awesome. Thank you, Akil. And I think, judging by who seems to be here right now, I think we can move to Amira's.
Okay.
Amira, I see you're here, and you posted this during this show. And yeah, it is a pretty serious problem. I would like to talk about it because it is pretty serious. So
okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So yeah, Amira, thank you again for posting this topic, and we'll do the best we can to hopefully help you out some. But Amira says, oh, here, I'll post a link to the topic here. And here. All right, Amira, her post is about, I'm getting kicked out. Help. And it says, I have a serious problem. I'm getting kicked out in April with nowhere to go and no one to help me. I'm so terrified and don't know what to do. And that's from Amira. So it looks like you're losing a housing situation, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
So the place where you're living. And believe me, I understand how that can be stressful. My job as a property inspector is to handle people when they're in the midst of losing their living situation.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of being on the wrong side of that. And I know Ryan's done that job before too. So I'm going to let Ryan start us off here. And thanks again, Amira.
Yeah, that's a really hard situation. I heard you talking, I saw you talking in the chat with Lasagna. And again, thanks for doing that, Lasagna. It was interesting to see a little bit of your conversation, how it was going. It seems like you've already reached out to friends, and there's no place for you among them, and that's unfortunate. It sounds like a really, really tough time. Um, that'd be really hard to deal with, because now, if you lose your house, like you feel like you lose everything.
Mm-hmm.
How do you connect with people on the internet? If you lose your house, all sorts of different stuff. I'm not sure. I remember you had a job before, but then you quit, or yeah, I believe you quit. I don't know if you got a new job. I'm pretty sure you did, but I'm not sure. I'm just kind of curious. Do you have a job? Hopefully you do. One thing you can do, if you have a job, that is look for a way that you can. I would go to Craigslist, or you have a job right now, but it's just a temp. Okay, that's fine. That's good enough. What I would do is I would go to Craigslist and look to see if you can find a place that you can live, where you room, maybe with somebody else. And the reason I suggest that is because it's going to be a cheap way to live. You can share a house with somebody who's on, there's tons of different people online in Craigslist or other websites that you can find saying, hey, my house is open. If anybody wants to, room with me, wants to be my roommate or my housemate, live with me here, we can split the costs of living, that sort of thing. You have that option available to you, and it's not a bad option because it can also create friendships and relationships that you wouldn't otherwise have. Because obviously getting your own apartment, getting your own apartment, getting your own house, that's really expensive, right? And if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. There's no getting around it. And if your job is a temp, if you haven't been working very long there, et cetera, the bank isn't likely going to give you a loan to buy a house or rent an apartment or whatever. They might, and that would be nice, but you can try that. And if it doesn't work, then the first thing I would suggest is living with somebody else even if they are a stranger. I see you've written here that you don't want to live with strangers and you don't trust random people. I think then it would be a good opportunity to try to do that. Personally, even though even I would be a little bit nervous moving in with strangers, right? Because I don't know them. How do I know I can trust them, etc.? By someone else reaching their hand out to me and saying, "Hey, let's work this out together. Let's live together. Let's figure this out." It's kind of like a learning experience, a growing experience, getting over my trust issues or getting over my how do you call that? My lack of people skills, my social issues. I think that could be a good option, even though it's scary. Here's the thing: you're going through a situation right now, and it's scary. Period. Right? And the solution to this problem is not going to be something that's 0% scary. Right now, well, before you had the comfort of your home that's being taken away. So now the situation is scary. Well, you're going to have to try different things, even though you're scared, in order to get out of this. One saying is, in order to find what you do not have, you have to go through what you do not yet know. In order to obtain what you cannot see, you sometimes have to walk through what you've never seen before. In fact, almost always. The reason you don't have what you want or what you don't see in your life is because you haven't yet walked through the unseen. And yeah, it can be scary living with people. I'm just giving you that option. I'm not saying you have to do it. I wouldn't want you to fall into a position where you end up with really terrible people that you're living with. Absolutely not. I would be concerned and I would, if I were you, I would really feel the people out and try to get a good understanding of maybe their morals or their type personalities and things like that before I moved in with them, to see if it's a good idea or a bad idea. But aside from that, I would never put myself above the idea of living with other people, even strangers, even though it can be frightening, it can be something new. But hey, that's also enjoyable. Part of what makes us enjoy life is the unknown, experiencing something new, experiencing something fresh, and finding out we like it. It's interesting. There's, I'm not sure if you enjoy spicy food, but one of the reasons we like spicy food as humans is because our brain tells us, it sends signals. Like when we put what's called capsaicin on our tongue, which is a chemical that's rich in spicy peppers and things like that. When we put that on our tongues, it sends a signal to our brain that tells us, excuse me, your tongue is literally on fire. Danger, danger. And we like that feeling, even though it's a strange feeling. It's got that sense of danger to it. And it's part of why we like it. We like that thrill. We call that flavor because it is a type of thrill. It's an experience. It's something different. It's, there's so many different tastes out there. Some are spicy. Some are creamy. Some are salty. There's so many different types of flavors out there. And sometimes it's when we try something new, we enjoy it. And then that creates a thrill, a new experience, a new joy in our life. So don't be afraid. Whatever you have to do, Creamy is a texture. Creamy is also a taste. And acid also is a taste. Um, sour, for example. Spicy is, I guess, a wide variety as well, because there's many different spices. Spices are just things that come from plants and how you flavor your food. But spicy is what we call that sensation of oh my gosh, your tongue is on fire. Yeah. Um, anyways, tastes and textures, all of that is an experience. Um, so they're experiences, and sometimes we like them and sometimes we don't. But the interesting thing is we can learn to like them all. A lot of people don't believe me when I say this, but you can learn to like the foods you don't like right now. You can physically learn to like them because it's in your brain. That's your brain is deciding whether you like it or not, and your brain actually can change that perspective on those foods if you go through the right procedure. If you go through the right mental training on those things, your brain can establish, hey, this is a texture that I do enjoy. But anyhow, it's kind of like neither here nor there. It's part of the part of the analogy, I suppose. But we we uh, we as humans actually enjoy experiences, and so remember that whatever you're going through, it's an experience. And some things are going to look scary because you've never done them before. In fact, this position you're in right now, you might have been in before, but it's possible you've never been in this experience before. And that's why it's so scary.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, to reassure you, not to scare you, but I know people who have been homeless. I know people who are not homeless and then became homeless in the middle of me knowing them and talking to them. Um, and it's surprising because one individual had been homeless before, and then he had gotten an apartment and everything was going fine. And then all of a sudden, bad things went down, and he ended up losing his apartment, and he had to become homeless again. You know, it was amazing. He didn't lose his cool one bit. He was just like, "Oh yeah, I've been here before. It's actually not that bad." The TV, television society makes it out to be this huge horrible thing, but honestly, it's like not a big deal. Like totally, it's just like whatever. You find the area, whatever you find an abandoned building, you just lay in there. You're like, cool, this is where I'm at for tonight. It's cool. I got my friends. I can go over to their house if I need to, but um, you know, I don't mind living on the streets. I've done it before, and it's kind of fun. That's a completely different attitude than you would expect. But you know what? That's the attitude you can have. I'm not saying that you're going to end up homeless. You probably won't. You get through the experience just fine. But whatever you go through, it's going to be something new. And that's what makes it scary. But once you go through something a few times, it's no longer scary. And it kind of makes us realize we didn't need to be scared in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And the fear that we had was only putting things off or making us stressed out, and it wasn't usually helping us. And a lot of times we just need to remain calm in those situations. It's a lot easier to solve your problems when you have a clear mind, right? When you have a mind that's not worried about 10,000 things, including your emotions. Um, so just to try to calm you, I know people who have been homeless and they're okay. They're okay. Um, and then eventually they found themselves an apartment or whatever, and they're okay. It's all about how you want to feel about it. A lot of times it's your own attitude. You go through life and you have these experiences, right? But you get to pick how you feel about them. Amira says, I've been homeless before and was forced to stay in a shelter as a child. Okay. I was mentally abused by random adults. Yeah, that's really unfortunate. You being forced to stay in a shelter because you were a child. Yeah, that's really unfortunate. It's kind of a different type of homeless, because it's a homelessness where you are not free. Um, you are kind of imprisoned by society's rules because you're a child. You get forced to be in a shelter. When you're an adult and you're homeless, you actually have freedom. It's a little bit different. They have those laws in place to help children because they don't want to see children on the streets and they want to help them. But unfortunately, as you experience sometimes, those places are not really a shelter. They're not kind. They aren't helpful in your upbringing and that sort of thing. So I'm really sorry that you had to go through that. That's unfortunate. And I wish you didn't have to have that experience. I wish, that's not your fault. And I'm sorry that that happened to you. Um, and I'm sorry for those people too who abused you mentally. That's terrible. Um, but yeah, what I'd suggest is just keep an open mind. Um, Joe might have some better suggestions than I did. My only real suggestion is look for a place that's cheap, that you can room with somebody else, probably, unless you can find something that's really, really cheap, that's all your own. But yeah, just start looking online. Start looking online for different houses, different apartments, or whatever you can find. Um, that'll be doable with your current financial situation. Try to stay calm and remember that it's all just an experience. Life goes on, and we get to experience life. Um, and how we go through it, our attitude, um, shapes our experience a lot of times.
Mhm.
Um, you said I haven't even gotten a paycheck yet. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, I can understand why you're concerned. That's things that would concern anybody. Anybody would be uh, worried in that sort of situation. Um, but you just gotta try your best in that situation to stay calm so that you can get done the things that you need to get done. Because you don't want to be so struck by fear where you're struck still. You're like, I don't know what to do, so I give up and I do nothing. Unfortunately, sometimes we fall into that position, and we got to make sure we don't. We got to just stay calm and think logically and think clear and just say, okay, what can I do next? What action do I have available to me? All right, let's go online. Let's see what's possible. If I haven't got my paycheck yet, one thing I can do is I can go talk to my supervisor at work and say, hey, so this is what I'm going through. Uh, I am going to need a paycheck. So can you help me out here? I'm not asking, not necessarily asking for more, but just asking for your paycheck. Um, they'll I'm sure they'll be compassionate to some degree and be like, wow, that sounds really rough that you have to go through that. I'll see what I can do. I'll see if I can forward some of the money, get you your paycheck early this week so that you have something to work with. It's okay to talk to people about your paycheck at work and ask for that for your manager or from the boss or whatever. It's not wrong. It's okay to do that. It might be a little bit scary because you've never done that before. Maybe you have done that. Who knows? But yeah.
Literally just started work. That makes sense that you probably haven't gotten.
Yeah, then you went paycheck. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. I recently went through a very similar situation about not getting a paycheck. One of my clients recently updated one of their policies, and they're like, oh, it used to be that they would just send us the check. We'd do our work. Everything was automatically tracked through the different apps that we use and everything like that. Everything's automatically there. Invoices are automatically, put together. Boom, it's all there. And it was fine. Everything just was automated. That's kind of how this stuff was supposed to work, But this one particular client of mine decided, hey, you know what? We are now requiring every single one of you to send us an invoice every week for each week's pay. And so I was like, really? That's ridiculous. I mean, this software is supposed to automate all this stuff for you. Like, why are you making us pay extra for this software if you're not going to use it to its capability? Like, this is what's going on in my head, right? So anyway, fine. I started sending invoices, but I got like a month ahead. And then I didn't put an invoice in. And then because everything got busy, and then I was like, well, I'm ahead of schedule. I'll get to it. It's on my to-do list. I'll get to it. Well, a payday came and I didn't get any money. And I was like, that's interesting. I didn't get any money. I looked for the direct deposit. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm supposed to get paid today. That's an issue. And so then I was like, well, maybe it's just that it's, maybe it'll come later in the day. So I looked later in the day. It still wasn't there yet. I was like, oh no. So then I looked through my invoices and I was like, aha, I didn't send an invoice for today. And so then I didn't get paid. And so that just pushed that pay back to the next pay period, which, but I had to send an invoice and then they were going to pay me the next pay period. But, that moment was really, really stressful because it was like, what the heck happened? I didn't get paid. I was supposed to get paid. In your case, Amira, yeah, if you just started your job, it's going to be a little bit before you haven't gotten paid, before you get your paycheck. And, but then once that starts, then you ought to be just fine. And just a temporary job. What's that?
I said, just talk to people. Like,
sure.
If you're like, hey, I need this place and I'm working, I just started this job, but so I don't really have a paycheck to put down yet, but obviously it's coming. I have a job and I can prove that. People will understand that. People are compassionate to a degree. They'll be like, oh, that sounds rough. Yeah, hold on. Let me see what I can do for you.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid to level with people and be honest and just tell them what you're going through. A lot of times just telling them what you're going through, even though it's a horror story and it's like, oh man, people will be compassionate and be like, hold on, let me see what I can do for you to make your life a little bit easier. Cause that sounds awful. Talking to people about it, in the housing market and whatever, it will help you.
Yep, absolutely. So it's interesting. I appreciate some of the things Magician Jester is saying because he's saying he's offering some words like Amira saying I can't afford a place to live, and a Magician says yet, Amira, it's not yet, and that's so true because a lot of times, and I see your despair, Amira, and I understand that feeling that you're having with this because man, the stress can be crushing and it can just hurt so bad. And it can be absolutely hard to even get up and go do something. Like, even though we know, what, okay, I still have the capability to get up, but sometimes that stress is so hard to deal with. It like sets on you and it won't allow you to get up. You're like, I need to get up. But here's the thing. This experience that you're having, this is not a definition of you, and it's not a permanent situation. So I see you say here that you're doomed, and I understand the place where those words come from. And I know it's not a fun place. Mm-mm. But this place you're in, this place that where you're dealing with all this stuff, all of that, it's not permanent. It's temporary. Things can turn around quickly. Obviously they can, because you were not expecting any of this stuff to happen. And all of a sudden, boom, you get this bomb dropped on you that you got to move 4 months earlier than you expected.
Yeah.
And that all turned around on you real quick. So things can turn real quick, and they don't always turn to the worse real quick. Sometimes things can turn to the better real quick without us expecting it. They don't always, but it can happen. It can happen in both directions. The unexpected can happen in both directions. And so what do you do in the meantime? First of all, you got to understand that this does not reflect on who you are as a person. Just because you're experiencing this trouble, you're experiencing this pain, that doesn't mean that you're less of a person. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't take any value away from who you are at all. It just means you're having a tough time. And, you know, Ryan gave you some examples of some people that have been through some tough times. The guy who was homeless multiple times, and then all of a sudden now, boom, you know, here hey. He's like, well, I'm going to be homeless again. Well, I know what that's like. I remember when I lived in Traverse City, Michigan, I would go up on top of this hill, and there was this beautiful, huge subdivision of gorgeous, huge homes. And you go down the hill, and there were like tents that people lived in. And I remember walking through the woods one time. I was walking around in the woods just outside of town. And there was just this area where all these homeless people lived. There were like blankets on strings, you know, between two trees. That was somebody's house. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. But they were surviving and they were trying the best they could. Right. So I understand being a homeless is a nightmare. I understand being hit with things where, you know, it seems like an unlivable situation. It's so tough. I completely understand. You know, there are times when no matter how bad it gets, I sit there and I'm like, you know what? At least I have a toilet. That's nice. You know, at least I have a pillow. That's nice. And at least I have a blanket. That's nice. I can remember one time, you know, the pillow and the blanket thing, that was a really big deal to me because there was a time I was in Drum and Bugle Corps for part of a year. And I had never been there. Nobody I ever knew had ever been to Drum and Bugle Corps ever. You know, nobody knew any of this stuff. I just was like, I'm going to join Drum and Bugle Corps because it looks like it's cool. And so I went, and I didn't know anything. All I knew is I show up Friday night and I come back on Sunday for this weekend of auditions and practice, basically. You know, it's like, we're going to try and figure out where people are at. I'm like, all right, I'm going to throw myself into this thing. It's going to be awesome. I bought some drumsticks and I brought some extra clothes and I threw them in a bag and I got in the car and I drove to Saginaw. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to figure out, you know, this Drum and Bugle Corps thing. And then we get there, we do the thing on Friday night, and it's like hard, and my hands are hurting by the end because it's just drills all night long. And I'm playing, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so painful. And then, and then they're like, okay, it's time to get ready for bed. And they showed us to the gym. And I slept on the gym floor. My pillow was a rolled up shirt, and my blanket was an extra pair of pants. And I'm sleeping on a gymnasium floor. And it's hard. And in the meantime, there's all these kids from these nice suburbs that have been there before. They've got all these self-inflating air mattresses that are like queen sized, super thick. And I'm like, man, it'd be really cool to just like see if I could, you know, hey, can I share your air mattress?
Yeah, sneak in there with you.
Yeah. But nope. I just laid on the floor. I laid on the gym floor. It was cold. It was wretched, and I didn't hardly sleep at all, except I was exhausted. So I was like, oh. And then by the time I went back on Sunday, I was like, okay, lesson learned. Bring an air mattress and a sleeping bag and a pillow, you know. And so to this day, and Ryan can attest to this on the road trips we've had, I always have a sleeping bag, an air mattress, and a pillow in my trunk.
That's true. He does.
Always. Because I know I don't ever know what's going to happen. Maybe I would end up crashing on a floor somewhere. And so I always have that. But So there's some stuff. I mean, there are resources that you will have available. I don't know where you live, and you don't have to divulge that if you don't want to. That's no problem. But probably in a local area you have nearby. I just, well, Ryan was talking, I looked up, there's a website called roomster.com, ROOMSTER.com. And that's a website. It's just one of a bunch of websites where people have rooms for rent, and a lot of them are really cheap. It's not that bad. And I saw your post that you don't trust people you don't know. And I totally understand that feeling. But every friend we ever had was somebody we didn't know at one point in time. We didn't know that person. Every friend that I have, there was a time when I didn't know them. And you know what? I met them and I learned who they were and I talked to them. So that's how you get to know people. Like you can, if you're really, really, concerned about this, it might push you into doing some things that you might have thought were uncomfortable. But one of those things might be, hey, I need to find a place to stay. And so I need to talk to some of these people and get to know them as quickly as possible. You have until April, it looks like, so you have a month. You can probably make contact with some of these people and you can get to the point where you get to know them. You could meet them and say, hey, you know what? I'm really nervous about this situation. I need to find a room, but I've never done anything like this before. And I just don't really know what to do. Can we just meet and grab like a cup of coffee or something sometime? Can we just meet up? And so I can get to know you a little bit before I start thinking about this, I'd really like to do that and get to know you. So at least I know who you are before I move into this place where we live in the same house. A lot of times you would have your own room, but you'll be sharing a house with somebody. And that's one thing that you can try to do, and you're going to come across some good people. There are good people in the world and there are bad people in the world. And most people are just people, and we've got good and bad sides,
Yeah.
But there are trustworthy people out there. And I would imagine that if somebody is putting themselves on a website with a room, more than likely they're thinking the same thing. They're like, I hope I don't find somebody really crazy to move into this room.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you're just going to be fine. Amira, I see some of your posts here. Every friend I had left me or stabbed me in the back. No one loves me and my life is a lost cause. Amira, so I know where those words are coming from, but I know deep down inside, that's not true. Because there are people here that love you.
Mm-hmm.
We love you. I know we've never met in person, but we love that you come here. We love talking to you, and we love that you share.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I know about you, there's no reason for me to not love you.
Mm-hmm.
You're made in the image of God, and you're here, and I'm so thankful that you're here. Yep, there are people here who know nothing about me. That's absolutely true. But you know what? I don't know a whole lot about you. I just know some of the stuff you've dealt with. I know some things have been really hard for you. And what I see is someone that, just maybe would like to catch a break. And it's coming. Some of the most impactful words I've ever heard. This too shall pass. 4 words. This too shall pass. A bad time you're going through, this too shall pass. A good time you're going through, this too shall pass. In fact, today, I was hanging out with Ryan in person. We were putting together a video project. And it was so great. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, you know what? This is going to pass. And then I'm going to be going and I'm going to be leaving and go back home. And then I'm not probably going to see Ryan for a long time again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm going to see him on the streams, but I'm not going to see him in person, We're not going to get to go and hang out and have coffee and tea and, like have lunch together and work on stuff together. And, but this too shall pass. So good things pass and bad things pass. And this situation, it's going to change too. I know you're a little bit averse to shelters. I see that. But another thing you can look for in any area you're in is look for a Society of St. Vincent de Paul.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
That's a Catholic charity that's everywhere, all over the place. And that's what they do. They help people when they're having trouble. They have resources, and they try and help out. In fact, I donate to them from time to time. So, it's, you're not in a position of being destitute, and you have a little bit of time and you have options. It's just a matter of whether or not you're willing to try. And I think you are. And I think it'll be a great adventure.
Mm-hmm.
You might be like, I don't know. Oh, you're not Catholic. You don't have to be Catholic. You don't have to be Catholic.
No, you don't
not at all.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Actually, no, not at all. That's not a requirement.
No.
That's part of the cool thing.
They help everybody.
Churches, they want to help people who aren't Catholic just as much as they want to help. Yeah, there's no requirements there.
Yep.
If you're in a situation where you need help and we can help, that's just okay. Let us help you. It's like, oh, you're a different religion. Well, I can't help you. Yeah, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. You don't need to be.
Right.
At least not for that program. I don't know. I can't speak for every program out there, but I know for St. Vincent de Paul, you don't need to be.
Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of things they've helped people with. There are situations where people needed like dental work or whatever, and then they didn't have these jobs and everything, and then they ended up raising money to help this guy get dental work. There are all kinds of stories about different fundraisers and different things that have been done there. So you can check out that. That's an option. Check out theroomsters.com and see, maybe there's something in your area where somebody's got a room available and you can just get to know them. I saw in an earlier post that there's a family member that you could go stay with, but they're crazy.
Sometimes you have to stay with crazy people.
That's sometimes, you know what? I know people who have married people who are crazy. And they're stuck with them because they're married to them. And they're crazy. So that's another thing too. So there are options, and I understand that in your current position, getting hit with this all of a sudden, and then boom, it can seem like you don't have any answers. It can seem like you're just lost and you're doomed, and the despair can set in. But I'm telling you, you have options. You absolutely do. And you can navigate this. You are smart enough to figure this out. I promise you. Our job isn't necessarily to figure these things out for you. We can help provide some options. We can help, show you some options. And I'm telling you, you can figure this out. Mm-hmm. And one thing you can do, I'll tell you this. Another thing that a lot of people I've heard talk, a lot of books that I've read, when people are going through times like this where they're despairing, one of the things that they attribute to being the turning point for them was they started doing some exercising. And that seems totally wrong. And I know it seems off track. It's just like, no, you don't even want to listen to it. It's like, I don't want to do that. But I'm telling you, The thing that it does, even just a little bit, doesn't have to be super strenuous, super hard, but just regular, consistent, doing a little bit of exercise builds confidence. It helps clear your head, and it helps you to feel better because your body starts to feel better. Your body starts to get in better shape, and so you feel physically better. And from that standpoint, with better confidence, better well-being of feeling, and what was the other one I said? Oh, more clear head. Armed with that, you have a way better chance of figuring this out. So that's some of the stuff I would encourage you to do. I understand it's tough, and I'm sorry. I understand a lot of these things have been thrown at you, and I'm so sorry to hear that you're going through it, and it's hard.
Yeah.
But these difficult situations are there, and they stretch you, and that stretching helps you to grow. And when you come out on the other side of this, you're going to be a much stronger person than you were going in. And you're going to be able to handle things a lot better. You're going to know how to handle stuff. You're going to be like, all right, now I know how to be prepared for this. I know how to be prepared for this. I know how to be prepared for this. Kind of like how now I keep a sleeping bag, a pillow, and an air mattress in my trunk. I'm prepared.
That's for sure. And it's come in handy a couple of times.
It has. It has. So anyway, thank you, Amira, for posting. And Ryan, do you have anything else to say before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to kind of emphasize, Amira, I am sorry you have to go through this. I'm sorry anything bad in life has ever happened to you. One thing that I hope you can do, now obviously, just like Joe said, this too shall pass. Things change, life moves forward, whether we want it to or not sometimes. Just like Joe said, you are smart enough to get through this. Whatever happens, you're still you, and you're gonna go through it, and you'll figure things out as you go. I want you to have a little bit of confidence in yourself and a little bit of confidence in your situation. When you have so much despair because of the past, it can be hard to have that confidence. So I want to tell you one thing. It's really important, okay? And you need to tell yourself this. And this comes not from me. This comes from a very interesting source. His name is Larry Oney or One. I don't know how to pronounce it. Anyways, his saying is, "My past does not determine my destiny." My past does not determine my destiny. So a lot of times we look in our past, and when times are tough, we can look back in our past and see all the other tough times and be like, "Oh, I didn't make it out of that one," or "Life is just never getting better for me." No matter what happens, there's always just one more thing. It's like, I think things are starting to go okay, and then bam, this happens, and then this happens. All of that is part of your past, but none of that determines your destiny. Just because you had a hard past, just because bad things have happened, doesn't mean that things will always be that way. Your past does not determine your destiny. This is coming from a guy who grew up in a Black family, and he grew up in an area that was heavily populated by people who are of the KKK or people who just hate Blacks because that's the culture he grew up in. You're Black? Okay, we don't get along and we hate you. And so being a Black person, he's like, okay, well, I don't like you either. And so, you don't like me. Well, then I don't like you. And so that's just the way things are. So I hate you too. And he was going to become, he was in the process of becoming a part of something called the Black Panther. Black Panther was a very extreme group that would kill people just because they were white. And so he was working on being, kind of involved in that scene. Um, and basically everything in his life, all of the hate, growing up in this environment, being told that, he's never going to be equal to the other people around him. Um, all of that despair, all of that pain, all of that hurt that he didn't deserve. He never deserved to be treated like that.
Mm-hmm.
And for his sake, it wasn't healthy for him to hate everybody like he did, but he did. And he didn't deserve that pain either. That pain of having to hate everything, the pain of just life is never going to be okay. So I have to fight and, and, and maybe even kill people to make things all right. But it's not going to make things all right. It's just revolting, right? That's the path that he was going down. But things took a change for him. A couple of experiences happened where all of a sudden he figured out he needed to change his path. And so he kind of embraced the phrase, my past does not determine my destiny. Because his past, everything about it pointed in one direction, but your past isn't going to be what's coming to you in the future. You have to look forward to the future, because the future could be something completely different that your past doesn't necessarily point to, or you don't think it does. But it still does build you. You can learn from the past, and those experiences, they're hard, but they can build you up to something that's incredible. Just because you have a bad experience today doesn't mean tomorrow is not worth living for. Just because you had a lot of problems in the past doesn't mean that in the future that you're going to have the same exact problems over and over. We get through those problems, and we can learn those joys of doing that. So I want to encourage you, if you can, try to look to the future, not in a way that says, it's always going to be terrible, because it's always been terrible in the past, so it's always going to be terrible in the future. I don't want you to say that to yourself, because that's not true. You don't get to pick that. You don't get to decide that for yourself. But you do get to decide your attitude and what you're looking forward to. And if you can look forward to something, it'll give you that hope, that spark of hope that will change your attitude and how you feel. You need that in life. You need that hope. We all do. We all need hope. So what I would encourage you to do, and I've recommended this to other people, and it's a weird assignment for you, but write down a list of just 5 things that you can look forward to in the future. 5 things that you wish you had, dreams. They can be ridiculous if you want. Like, I wish I had a jet plane. That would be so cool. Awesome. Write it down. I want one of those things. If you decide to do this exercise, I really hope you do. Write down one feature that you wish to have in your house that you're personally designing that sounds really cool. Maybe it's like when you walk into the kitchen, the tile floors light up, so you never even have to turn on a light in the middle of the night when you're trying to get up for a snack. Or maybe it's, rivers that flow through the house and you want to swim from one room to the next. Maybe you got escalators or elevators in your house, just because those are fun. Those are cool. I like escalators. That's the child in me. Who doesn't love escalators? You think of something that you wish you had and write it down on paper, because that'll get your mind thinking about the future and having hope. Because I don't want you to be in despair, because there's no truth in despair. Despair doesn't give us anything. It just feels terrible. And I don't like that. And I don't want that for you. I hate when you feel bad. I really do. It hurts me inside to see you struggling. And it hurts me inside even worse to see you not wanting to try because you're struggling. To make an excuse when you have the brains to accomplish anything you set your mind to in this category. You just have to, figure it out and work your way through it. And I don't want you to feel terrible because it makes me feel terrible too, Um, when you say reality is full of despair, well, you're you are making reality full of despair. That's not what reality is. Reality is full of hope because hope creates all things. Despair never creates anything. If you look at reality and you see things, that's because those things exist out of hope. This cup doesn't exist because someone despaired. This cup exists because someone had hope. Someone believed that they could make this cup, and they did. Reality is made of hope. Don't buy into the pain that reality is despair, that despair creates reality. It doesn't. No part of reality exists because of despair. It exists because of hope, but we have to have that hope within ourselves, or we're just gonna fizzle out and give in despair and want nothing for ourselves and just accept nothing and feel pain.
Mm-hmm.
You know that pain you feel inside? That's an empty feeling. It's not a joyful feeling. It's not a hopeful feeling. It's a painful feeling. And that painful feeling is empty. And I don't want that for you. I want you to have hope. I want you to look to the future and be able to see that you want things. So I encourage you to try this exercise. Just write down 5 things. That's it. Write them down. Grab a pen and pencil, pen and a pencil, and write. Yeah, use the pen to write on the pencil. No, grab out pen and paper, pencil, paper, or I guess even if you want to do it on your computer, if you don't have those objects, just write out 5 things that you can think of that you would like to have in the future. Obviously, one of them is a house. Just having a place to live. That sounds nice. Not having to worry about getting kicked out. Right? That's a good thing? Write that down. Just write some things down so you can quell that hunger that's within you. Because that pain you feel that just makes you feel like you want to give up, it's because inside you're fighting and you have this hunger that wants more than that. That's why you feel that pain.
Mm-hmm.
Your mind rejects the nothingness. It doesn't feel good to you. But you have hunger for more, and that's good. And I want you to feed that hunger with hope. Because despair, you can't feed something nothingness. Despair is nothingness. You can only feed your inside with something nutritious, with something that has substance. And despair is not that. So, or else you'll just feel pain and be hungry, and then feel more pain because you're still hungry. It's like if you're hungry and you're in pain, you eat food. Just feel like, man, this pain exists because of hunger, and I don't know what to do about it. You got to eat, and it's very natural. And the same thing is with our emotions. Same thing as with our attitude towards life. So I don't know. I hope that this gets through to you, because I don't want you to suffer. It's pain for me to see you suffer.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, sorry to be so dark, but that's just how it is.
Yeah, Namira, I see that your friend is dying. I'm so sorry to hear that. I wish we had more time to get into that, but we've been on for a while, and it's time to wrap things up. But like Jester said, there's really no upside to a friend dying. I mean, the only upside is you can be thankful for the time that you've had, and maybe we can go into that more on a different show. if you'd like us to. We can talk a little bit more at length about that particular issue. But sounds like there's a lot going on for you, and it's tough, and it's painful, and I'm really sorry that you have to go through it. I'm really sorry that life seems to be dealing you a tough row right now, but you can get through it, and there are people that love you, and you keep coming back and keep posting stuff and keep being active in the chat. And there are people here, obviously. I mean, there are people surrounding you here trying to do their best to encourage you. That's one of the great things about the BSS community is, people will surround you with love and encouragement and do their best to help you. Sometimes I know I've been in the position where I'm pretty much immune to encouraging words. Like there's nothing anybody can say to make me feel any better. But
yeah, I've been there before.
Yep. But at the same time, it's still nice to see that there are people that care.
Yep.
And they do. And they're from all over the world. It's amazing. You guys are so awesome. And I'm so glad. I'm so honored to be a part of this. And that you guys are here. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, Amira, for that topic. We're going to have to shut it down. And yeah, you guys are awesome. We will be back on Friday. So stuff we did not get to, we will do our best to get to it on Friday. If there's anything else, Amira, if you want, you can post the one about your friend. If you want to go into a little bit more detail, go ahead and go to bss.studio and post there. Yep, be happy to go through it. So best of luck to you. I know you can get through it. You guys are awesome.
Yeah. And honestly, Amira, if you come just to vent, that's fine, because my gosh, sometimes you just need to talk. Sometimes you just need to vent something out, and that's totally acceptable. And we encourage that here, because that helps. That sometimes we get through the day just because we're able to talk about our problems, and that someone's able to listen to us honestly and talk about the issue, whether or not we have the advice that helps, whether or not you're even looking for any type of advice. Sometimes it's nice to just talk about something that you're going through, just because you can relate, and that makes us feel good. So yeah, I mean, we encourage it. Thank you for venting, if you will, because yeah, that helps. Even that helps. So that's cool.
Yep, absolutely. So thanks again. I see you don't have a BSS account, Amira. You should get one.
Yeah, it's free.
That would be cool. It's free and easy. You just register with an email address, and that's it. So, but anyway, you guys are awesome. And I'm so glad you guys were here. And I'm thankful that I was here.
Yeah, I'm glad I made it.
Yeah, no kidding. As Ryan and I were talking about earlier, we had a long day of getting quite a bit of work done today. It was a lot of fun, but it was definitely tiring.
Yeah. It's great,
and I tell you, we're just so excited to be a part of you. We want to do everything we can to serve you guys and the rest of the BSS community. So come back Friday to Don't Worry Wednesday and the Friday edition. Feel free to vent Friday.
Feel free to vent Friday. Yeah, vent starts with the letter F.
Vent. Yes. And we love you guys, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Bye, guys.